Hello students, today is Wednesday and let's see what date it is. It is June 24th and today you are going to be reading A Good Man is Hard to Find by Flannery O'Connor. So this, as I mentioned yesterday, it is a story that is considered to be Southern Gothic. So I wanted to talk to you guys about some of the issues that come up with that genre. So your job today is pretty simple. You need to read the story. You have a reading quiz that is on the hub, and then to watch this video. So we're going to be talking about so there are some sensitive topics in this story. First of all, there is violence in the story. If that is going to be upsetting to you, then reach out to me and I can give you an alternate assignment. And there is also racially charged language or racially offensive language. So we're going to talk about that today. So there are racial slurs in this story. If that makes you uncomfortable, reach out to me and I can get you an alternate assignment. But Flannery O'Connor is commonly studied in high schools and colleges across the country, so it's not something that I want to censor from you. And we're also going to think about like what the author is using the racially insensitive language for. Like, is she using it as herself or is she using it as a character? So it's just something I wanted to talk to you guys about before you read the story. So the grandmother in this story is one of the main characters, and we're going to talk about her character because she's the one who uses the racist language. The grandmother is obsessed with this idea of like good blood and like good being from a good family and being a lady and a gentleman and what that means. And she goes around and she first meets a character and says, "I can tell you're a good man. You come from a good family." And she's like obsessed with being perceived as a lady and being perceived as someone of like high status or high class. She also talks about African Americans or Black people and uses the N-word when she's talking about them a couple times. So the reason why, in my opinion, the reason why the author used this language is because the grandmother is definitely not a good character, and so she is definitely a hypocrite. So when we say that word hypocrite, it means she talks about being a good person, being a good man. She says a good man is hard to find, and it's like she's obsessed with being a lady and being high status, but like in actuality she's a total jerk. So she says one thing but then acts totally another. Her character is annoying. Her character is mean, manipulative, racist, and she makes mistakes and doesn't own up to it. So she's like this example of a woman who is obsessed with being perceived as being good, but in reality she's kind of rotten. And so we see that discrepancy. So the author wants us to see that this grandmother is a hypocrite. Like, she talks about being good all the time and being religious, but then she's racist. And so that really contributes to this idea of Southern Gothic literature and this idea that on the outside everything might seem like wonderful, but then like if we pull the curtains away from society, we can see that racism, poverty, and classism is a major issue in the region. So I think that Flannery O'Connor was using this language not as like herself. Well, I know that she was not using this language as herself. She's using this racist language as the character of the grandmother to point out the flaws in the system of the South and to criticize racism. So by using the racist word, she's actually like criticizing racism, because we're supposed to see the grandmother as this horrible person. So she's like, look at this horrible lady, she's racist. So I just wanted to address that. If this is going to be a problem for you, then please let me know. If you don't want to read it, then you can you can ask me for an alternate assignment and I'll give you something else. But I do think that it's still worth reading. I'm not going to cut the bad language out because I don't believe in censoring works, and this is classic literature that you'll be asked to study in lots of classes. So we just have to think about it critically and also realize that the author was using the language on purpose to criticize, to provide social commentary on the social structures of the South, including segregation and racism and things like that. Yeah, so if you have any questions about that, let me know. So the characters, the two main characters that I want to talk about with characterization, we have the grandmother, and I already briefly brought her up, but she is obsessed with this idea of being a lady and having good manners, but she's also very judgmental, and she judges everyone. So she wears a hat with flowers on it before they go on a road trip. And the hat is symbolic because she thinks to herself, if we get in a car wreck and someone finds my dead body, I want to look good so that they know that I'm a lady. Now think about how crazy that is. She's going to wear a hat on a car ride so that if she dies and someone discovers her body, they will think she's from a high-class family. Like, that's absurd. She doesn't think about the fact that she would be dead and have suffered. She doesn't think about the fact that her family would also be dead. She's obsessed with how she's perceived. And so the hat is symbolic because it's showing us, like, she wants to seem a certain way that she truly is not. So I'm not going to give away too much about the grandmother, but just keep all of that in mind. Also, the hat. So the family does get in a car wreck, and when the car wreck occurs, her hat falls apart. So it shows us that this facade of being like highbred or high class is actually like fake. And when we hold it up to scrutiny and we really like look at what it means to be high class, it will fall apart because the grandmother's desire is not actually rooted in anything real. She has all these ideas about what it means to be good, but being from a good family or being a good person has nothing to do with morality or making good choices in real life. It's like this idea of what she should be instead of like actually living your life as a good person. Okay, so the hat is a major symbol. The grandma is a major character. The other major character we have is called the misfit. So the very beginning of the story, the misfit is mentioned in a newspaper because he's someone who has escaped from a prison. So he's sort of like a deranged murderer type character. And I'm not going to tell you what happens because I want you to read the story. But let's just say there's an encounter between the misfit and some of the other characters. So the deranged killer sees some of the other characters and some stuff goes down. So I'm not going to give that away because I do want you to enjoy reading the story, and I want you to read the story and get that quiz done. So let's see. We talked about symbolism, we talked about characters, we talked about race. Just make sure that you read this story, post it on the hub, make sure you do the reading quiz, and please remember that your attendance is based on your timely participation. I will take your work up to 7 days late with no penalty, but after those 7 days, I'm not taking it, and I will not go back and look in and try and find your work, okay? I do not get an email every time a student turns something in. So if I go in and grade it and yours isn't there, you're gonna get a 0. It's gonna say missing. You're gonna be marked absent. But if you turn it in late, up to 7 days, I will still take it only if you email me. Please email to my actual email address. Do not comment on a hub chat or anything like that. So if you send me an email and say, hey, Miss Frank, this is the assignment I was missing. I just finished it. This was my score. Sorry for it being late. Thanks. And then I'll change your grade. So just make sure that you let me know. I will not be going in to check for late work. If you turn something in late and you don't email me, it will stay a 0 and it's not my fault. Okay? Please abide by that because I want to give y'all some flexibility, but also I can't check all the grades 100 times because there's a lot of y'all and there's a lot of assignments. So that would just be like a constant checking. You have to let me know and communicate. Okay? Have a great day. I hope you enjoy the story. I really like the story. And let me know what you think of it. Okay? Bye-bye.